Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I'm Claire Bueno.
And I'm not. I'm Anthony Bueno, and we're the filmmaker behind Cleanin Up The Town, Remembering Ghostbusters.
And the forthcoming Too Hot to Handle, Remembering Ghostbusters 2.
And this is Who You Gotta Call Live. So welcome. So this is a little taster that's going to go up on YouTube of what is a 2.5-hour event that we do every month with people from Ghostbusters, that people we've interviewed before, others that we haven't, given us a much more expanded sort of evolution of what we did on Cleanin Up The Town.
Yeah, this is definitely your opportunity to meet the people with the tools and the talents, because in the live Q&A, we very much like to take your questions and you can ask them yourself to the guys who work behind the making of the film.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. It's just, it really is giving that in the doc Cleanin Up The Town. I wanted to give it a very kind of feel that you can't just sit around the table chatting to these people. So Who You're Gonna Call is doing is just taking it that to the next step, where you can actually jump on a good old webcam, just your webcam, and meet and talk and ask the questions that we probably did.
Our first two guests are Bryan Wilson and Siegel, two very key figures behind the making of Slimer, and they've got a wealth of material that they went through. So if you're listening to this on a podcast, you may want to go onto YouTube, because they show some very, very cool archive that they've got tucked away.
Yeah.
Ferreted away.
So without further ado, here are the two Marks talking about it.
And so without further ado, we are very, very excited. Mark and Mark have known each other for decades, and so to bring them together to do this presentation is such a unique and exciting opportunity. So thank you for saying yes to us. And so I think, should we hand over to you guys, because I know you've got it all planned how you want to play it.
Because Mark was on Ghostbusters, as you said, before I was. Yeah. And if you can get us started on what you were doing on Ghostbusters when you first got started, and take it, and then we can take it up to the point where I joined the crew. And then at that point, I'm going to go back just a little step to tell you the direct thing that led me to Ghostbusters. But I'll let you get into your first work first.
Okay, so when I started working for Steve Johnson, I've got some photos that I can show us some of this stuff. So if we get time, brilliant. I'll pull up some stills. So I brought my portfolio to show to Steve Johnson. They saw puppets and masks and character costumes. And I said, okay, well, you would be good. And I met with Stuart Ziff and Steve Johnson down in Marina del Rey. And they said, okay, well, can you start next week? And sure, I'm available. I'd love to get started on a project. The first things they started me on was the librarian ghost. And I did some, like the rib cage for the librarian ghost, and started to build a mock-up of how she was going to stretch and change. So I worked with Steve Johnson, who was in charge of the design and what the thing was to look like. And he would have me pull... I think we had a foam latex skin of the gal who played the librarian at that point. And so I could begin to stretch them and put forms in them. And then Steve Johnson would say, yes, just like that, lock that off. And so we would begin to figure how long the arms stretched, how much the chest put out. He wanted the head to come down, the cranium to crush in, the eyes to suck in, the teeth to push out, the lips to split, So all of these things we kind of built into a mock-up. And in that, while I was working on that, it became necessary to get the terror dogs out. And so I was pulled over to help do terror dog claws and nails and horns. And can I show you some of those photos right now?
Yeah, please do. Hey!
Okay, so there I am in 1983. Working on the librarian chest. The orange section in front is actually her rib cage, which was one of the first things I did, was to sculpt that rib cage in clay. I did two different versions. First one was very much like a canine and very pointed, and I did this one, which is more like an Art Deco version of a rib cage. And I use that as part of this mock-up process. And this actually is PVC pipes, a block of plaster, and this is kind of what she looked like when she was stretched into shape. And here's the side view. You're seeing all these photos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks
okay,
amazing.
Great. So once we got this mock-up done, it was taken off to John Alberti and his father, and they built the mechanics mainly out of wood that pulled things into shape and stretched things out. But they had this mock-up to measure and see the differences. And this is the castings, the foam latex castings that I used to prototype to pull into shape and stretch this actual skin so it looked more like a monster. And here, Steve Johnson's on the right with the calipers, and I'm sitting on the left, dutifully listening to all his instructions. And just a real quick side note, you can see the radio in the back above Steve's shoulder. That's the same radio that Dana has in her apartment. It was a Sony. It was a beautiful pearl one. I thought, oh, that was so cool. I was using that when I was making the monsters. And it ended up the same brand being a prop in the movie.
And you so this is hear that there. Here.
Yeah. So here's kind of the close-ups and hero version of the mock-up of the head. And then this is the mechanics that pulled her into shape. It's missing the arms at this point, but it had the teeth push forward, the head pull down, the neck and head push forward, the ribs pull in, then the whole thing stretch up, and the arms stretch.
I've never seen that before.
The librarian, and here I am working on the finished version and pulling everything onto the hero mechanics. And through that doorway behind me, that's Randy Cook's office. And so Randy was always on the other side of the wall, and Steve was behind me, or, kind of, if where the librarian is facing, she would have been looking right at his desk. We shared a small room, and then Randy also had a room. This was a version.
It looks like Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo Bill in the background.
So here's the clay work that we were doing for the continuation of the Librarian Ghost, and Mark will be able to tell you a bit more about that. And so here's the final, the hero head, I believe, getting mechanisms. Here's the eyes that I designed. The four on the lower part are they were doorknobs I put on the doorway, a block of wood, and then painted them so that the eye makers could actually make these eyes. These were the actual librarian eyes.
Nice.
And that's the librarian. I'll go back just a little bit. So the terror dogs, this is what I worked on for weeks, kind of in between the librarian.
Hold on, Mark. Mark, can I share two images really quickly?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Since you mentioned the continuation of it, my first job was sculpting an extended jaws and teeth and I can show that picture. I think you have to pause yours or.
Okay, this might be that. Okay, I'm gonna take mine off.
Is that the picture?
You know what? I don't really have. Yeah, since you see them there, I don't really have to show my pictures because it's going to interrupt and take a while. So I sculpted extended jaws and teeth, basically what you see there, and we thought it would be cool. But the reality was, once they did the single transformation by that amazing mechanism, it was so dramatic, and it sold the gag and the fright so perfectly that it actually would have spoiled it to go beyond that. So we wound up not using it. So, okay, I don't have to share. You go on with your terror dogs, Mark. Sorry for the break.
No,
that was my first job on Ghostbusters.
And this was, I think, Steve's sculpt, which still had the gorilla style teeth and not the pointy teeth that Mark had sculpted. Okay, so terror dogs, where was here? Randy and Steve had seen the work I had been doing and said, well, Mark's good at doing detail work, so we'll have him match the miniature terror dog horns and claws that Randy had sculpted. So I started each one of these. I had to match diligently. The horns were probably about 1 foot long. The claws were 2 to 3 inches long, and the smallest of the little thorns were maybe 1.5 inches. But Randy would have me take a Polaroid of the miniature one to fill the frame of a Polaroid photo. Then he would have me take a picture of the clay work I was doing at the same scale. He would look at those, say, add this line, add that line. So I had to, every single one of these was matched exactly to a miniature that somebody else had done. So I spent probably a month making horns and claws, and then luckily I got to paint them for the film, for the large ones, and then here's some of the ones that I still have to this day.
That's incredible. What's that made out of, Mark?
Those are out of dental acrylic. So it's like retainers and stuff for people's teeth. They have a little wire around the edge, but it's a plastic. That's 2-part plastic that you mix a powder and a liquid together, and it's very stinky and not safe to breathe, but we breathed a lot of it.
Yeah. And you're living to tell the tale, thank goodness.
And yes. You're here today. Mark, was there anything? Well, let me show you on the terror dogs real quick. So we developed a mechanism for the terror dogs. There's a pole that goes down kind of back between his legs under the table. And that's what was a spring that would allow the head to stay upright because it was a heavy puppet. So when I climbed up inside of the terror dog, I went up through the belly. Excuse me. And then I could grab a controller at the back of the head. By tilting left and right or pushing forward, I can make the whole dog lean forward from under with my head and shoulders up inside of the torso. So I ended up being on the first shot of the terror dogs with Terry Hardin, Ron Harrison, Tim Lawrence, and myself.
That's amazing.
And this was one of the first shots we did. And it's where she pets the terror dog on the head. And I'm actually inside the dog at that point, getting the head over to see her. And then I was watching on a little tiny monitor.
Superb. I don't think I've seen that photo either.
And this is the person next to the terror dog is Robin Williams.
Oh, wow.
Bill Murray is in the Get Up, and Chevy Chase is walking towards the camera.
Look at that.
So they came as guests to see what we were doing. So I got to meet them, but through rubber.
I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere.
There
We'll
is,
leave it at
yeah.
that.
The actress.
Was it safe?
Well, it was the 80s.
Cash shot. And so Mark, I'll start the Slimer thing, and then I'll hand off to you to where you do the modifications.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because you did, you were there when the preliminary Slimer work, maquettes
Right.
and all, and you've got some things to show. And then when you've shown those, I'll jump in with after I came in.
Oh, Anthony, cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. The power I wield, it's, sometimes godlike, but what can I say? I just have to put it down sometimes. So if you do want to see more, then there are ways to see the full 2.5 hours and learn all about what they did with Slimer. Yeah. And those ways are
through Patreon. If you'd like to subscribe, you can get the audio and video versions of the file. Or if you just want the one-off, you can just visit ghostbustersdoc.com and you can purchase your access there. So
that's both
audio and video
for podcasts. Cool. I'm not down with the technology, so I have to ask Claire because she does it. I just send it to a computer and
do
edit.
Classy chops.
Exactly. Chop, leaving people hanging.
Exactly. So Who You're Going to Call Live is produced and hosted by ourselves, Claire and Anthony Bueno.
Yeah, and is executively produced by Maggie Taylor.
Yep, and if you like the soundtrack, then that's off our Cleanin Up The Town soundtrack.
Yeah, which is also available to purchase through the shop.
Yeah.
And also got to give a mention to Anthony's our art director, who always,
pulls it out the bag.
Knocks it out the park. Babe Ruth style. Anyway. So that is it.
Yeah, that is it. If you want to continue to follow us, we're on Instagram, Facebook, but subscribe. And if you want to join future events, then do visit ghostbustersdoc.com because we've got some amazing talent coming up over the year.
See you then.
Ta-ta.